Picture this. You're standing at the edge of a cliff. Your heart races, palms sweat, and you feel an overwhelming sense of fear. It's a feeling we all know too well. But what if there was a way to manage this fear? To live with it in a way that doesn't control us? Today, let's dive into how the ancient philosophy of Stoicism can help us live with fear. Imagine you're a Roman soldier named Marcus. It's the night before a big battle, and fear is gripping your heart. You start to think about everything that could go wrong. What if you get injured? What if you don't come back? These fears are real, and they're powerful. But then you remember the teachings of Stoicism, a philosophy that has guided you through many tough times. First, let's talk about what we can control, what we can't. The Stoics, like the famous philosopher Epictetus, believed that we should focus on things within our control and accept the things we cannot change. Marcus, our soldier, realizes that he can't control the outcome of the battle. He can't control the actions of his enemies or even the orders from his superiors. What he can control, however, is his own behavior and reactions. He decides to focus on being brave, doing his duty, and supporting his fellow soldiers. We often fear things that are out of our control. Think about a job interview. You can't control the questions you'll be asked or the other candidate. What you can control is how well you prepare and how confidently you present yourself. By shifting our focus to what we can control, we can reduce our anxiety and fear. Now, let's move to the next important principle: negative visualization. This might sound strange at first. Why would we want to imagine bad things happening? But this Stoic practice can actually help us manage fear. Marcus, our Roman soldier, sits by the campfire and imagines the worst possible outcomes of the battle. He thinks about being injured or even losing his life. First, these thoughts make his heart pound faster. But then, he starts to accept. He realizes that if he can face these fears in his mind, he'll be more prepared. They actually happen. Negative visualization helps us reduce the shock and impact of unexpected events. Let's say you're afraid of public speaking. Imagine forgetting your speech in front of a large audience. Visualize the embarrassment and the fear. Then think about how you would handle it. Maybe you would pause, take a deep breath, and continue. By practicing this mentally, you become more resilient and less fearful. As Marcus prepares for battle, also embraces the present moment. He stops worrying about the future and focuses on what he can do right now. This is another key Stoic teaching. Fear often arises from thinking about what might happen. When we live in the present, we can deal with challenges as they come. Think about a time when you were really anxious about something in the future. Maybe it was an important exam. Your mind kept racing with thoughts of failing and the consequences. But during the exam, you focused on answering each question to the best of your ability. By staying in the present moment, you managed your fear and performed better. Another powerful Stoic principle is cultivating virtue. The Stoics believed that living a virtuous life, guided by wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, provides a strong foundation to face fears. Marcus reminds himself of his virtues. He knows that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. He focuses on being wise in his decisions, fair in his actions, moderate in his desires. We can apply this in our lives too. Imagine you're afraid of taking a big step, like moving to a new city for a job. It's natural to feel fear, but if you remind yourself of your virtues, your courage to try new things, your wisdom to make informed decisions, your sense of justice to do what's right for you and your family, you can face this fear more confident. As Marcus stands ready for battle, he also uses rational examination. He breaks down his fears logically. He asks himself, what's the worst that can happen? And how likely is it that these fears will come true? By analyzing his fears rationally, he finds that many of them are exaggerated. He realizes that he has faced dangers before and survived. This gives him a sense of calm. We can do the same in our lives. Let's say you're afraid of flying. Instead of letting the fear consume you, you can examine it rationally. Look at the statistics of how safe flying actually is. Break down your fear and understand that it's often more about the lack of control than the actual risk. This rational approach can help reduce your fear. Before we continue, if you're finding these Stoic principles helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us bring more valuable content. Returning to our story, Marcus is now standing in the battlefield, feeling more at peace with his fear. He knows that fear is a natural emotion, but it doesn't have to control him. By applying Stoic principles, he's ready to face whatever comes his way. Let's bring this back to our own lives with another example. Imagine you're an artist, and you're afraid of showing your work to the world. You're scared of criticism and rejection. But what if you focused on what you can control? Like improving your skills, putting your best effort into each piece. What if you practiced negative visualization by imagining the worst criticism and preparing yourself to handle it? What if you lived in the present moment, enjoying the process of creating art, rather than worrying about how it will be received? What if you cultivated virtues like courage to show your work, wisdom to learn from feedback, and temperance to stay balanced regardless of the outcome? By applying these Stoic principles, you can manage your fear and continue to pursue your passion. This approach isn't about eliminating fear entirely. It's about learning to live with it in a way that doesn't hinder you. Another story to illustrate this is about a woman named Maria who wants to start her own business. She's terrified of failing. She worries about financial risks, possibility of not getting enough customers, and what people will think she doesn't succeed. But Maria decides to apply Stoicism to her situation. First, she focuses on what she can control. She can't control the market or the economy, but she can control her business plan, her marketing efforts, and her dedication to providing excellent service. She prepares thoroughly, learning everything she can about running a business. Next, Maria practices negative visualization. She imagines her business failing, losing money, and having to start over. At first, this is terrifying, but then she starts to accept these possibilities. She realizes that even if these things happen, she can handle them. She can learn from her mistakes and try again. Maria also embraces the present moment. Instead of constantly worrying about the future, she focuses on the tasks at hand. She takes things one step at a time, finding joy and satisfaction in her work. She reminds herself of her virtues. She has the courage to pursue her dreams, the wisdom to seek advice and learn, justice to treat her customers and employees well, and the temperance to stay balanced in her effort. Finally, Maria uses rational examination. She breaks down her fears and analyzes them logically. She realizes that while failure is possible, it's not the end of the world. Many successful people have failed multiple times before achieving their goals. This rational approach helps her see her fear in a new light. Maria starts her business, and while she still feels fear, it no longer paralyzes her. She moves forward with confidence, knowing that she has the tools to manage her fear and succeed. Let's consider another example. Meet John, a young man who has always wanted to travel the world, but he's afraid. What if he gets lost? What if he runs out of money? What if he encounters danger in a foreign country? These fears have kept him from pursuing his dream. However, John decides to embrace Stoic principle. John starts by focusing on what he can control. He can't control everything that might happen during his travel, but he can plan carefully. He researches his destinations, saves money, and makes sure he has a safety. By taking control of his preparations, feels more confident. Next, he practices negative visualization. John imagines worst-case scenarios, losing his passport, getting sick, or facing an emergency. By picturing these situations, he prepares himself mentally and comes up with solutions. He knows where the nearest embassy is, buys travel insurance, and keeps emergency contact handy. This practice reduces his fear because he's ready for potential problems. John also embraces the present moment. Instead of worrying about everything that could go wrong, he focuses on enjoying each day of his travel. He immerses himself in new experiences, meets new people, and learns about different cultures. By living in the moment, finds joy and fulfillment, which helps keep his fears at bay. John reminds himself of his virtues. He has the courage to step out of his comfort zone, wisdom to make safe choices, justice to respect local customs and people, and the temperance to balance his adventurous spirit with caution. Lastly, John uses rational examination. He assesses his fears logically. He realizes that many travelers have faced similar challenges and successfully navigated them. By analyzing the actual risks versus his fears, he understands that while traveling has its uncertainties, it is also a rewarding and enriching experience. John embarks on his journey, and although he still feels some fear, it no longer stops. He enjoys his travels, faces challenges with a calm mind, and grows as a person. As we wrap up, remember that fear is a natural part of life. It's something we all experience, whether we're facing a big challenge or a small one. But by applying Stoic principles, we can learn to live with our fear in a way that empowers us rather than holds us back. Think of another example involving a young student named Emma. Emma is passionate about science and dreams of becoming a doctor. However, the thought of the long years of study, competitive exams, and the pressure of medical school fills her with fear. She worries about whether she is smart enough, she can handle the stress, and if she will ultimately succeed. Emma decides to turn to Stoic principles to manage her. Emma begins by focusing on what she can control. She can't control the difficulty of the exams or the competition from other students. She can control her own effort and preparation. She creates a study plan, seeks help from her teachers, and stays disciplined in her study. By concentrating on her actions, she feels more in control and less overwhelmed by. Next, Emma practices negative visualization. She imagines the possibility of not getting into medical school on her first try. First, this thought scares her. Then she starts to accept it. She realizes that if this happens, it doesn't mean she is a failure. She can try again, gain more experience, and improve her application. By facing this fear mentally, she becomes more resilient. Emma also embraces the present moment. Instead of constantly worrying about the future and the long journey ahead, she focuses on her current task. She enjoys her classes, learns as much as she can, and takes things one step at a time. By living in the present, she reduces her anxiety about the future. She reminds herself of her virtues. Emma has the courage to pursue a challenging career, the wisdom to seek knowledge and help, the justice to work hard for her future patients, and the temperance to maintain a balanced life. These virtues guide her and give her strength to face her fears. Emma uses rational examination to analyze her fears. She breaks down her worries about medical school and realizes that while it will be tough, she has faced challenges before and succeeded. She reminds herself that many doctors have gone through this process and come out stronger. This rational approach helps her see her fears in a new light and reduces their power. Emma continues her studies with a calm and focused mind. She still feels fear, but it no longer paralyzes her. She knows that by applying Stoic principles, she can manage her fear and work towards her dream. Another story to consider is about an older man named David who wants to reconnect with his estranged son. Years of misunderstandings and hurt feelings have created a deep rift between them. David fears rejection and further pain, but he decides to apply Stoicism to face this. David focuses on what he can control. Can't control his son's reactions or feelings. He can control his own actions and words. He writes a heartfelt letter expressing his love and regret for past mistakes. He prepares himself for the possibility that his son may not respond, but he knows that reaching out is within his control. Next, David practices negative visualization. He imagines the worst-case scenario, his son rejecting his attempt to reconnect. First, this thought is painful, but he starts to accept it. He realizes that even if his son doesn't respond positively, he has done what he can to reach out and express his feeling. This acceptance helps him face his fear. David embraces the present moment by focusing on the act of writing the letter and the positive steps he is taking. He doesn't dwell on the outcome, but instead finds peace in knowing he is doing what he can right now. He reminds himself of his virtues. David has the courage to reach out despite his fear, wisdom to communicate honestly, justice to take responsibility for his actions, and the temperance to remain patient and hopeful. These virtues guide him in his action. David uses rational examination to analyze his fear. He understands that while there is a chance of rejection, there is also a chance of reconciliation and healing. By breaking down his fear rationally, he sees that taking this step is worth the risk. David sends the letter and waits. Although he still feels fear, it no longer paralyzes him. he knows that he has done his part, and he finds peace in that. In time, his son responds, and they begin to rebuild their relationship. David's application of Stoic principles helped him face his fear and take a meaningful step towards healing. As we wrap up, remember that fear is a natural part of life. It's something we all experience, whether we're facing a big challenge or a small one. But by applying Stoic principles, we can learn to live with our fear in a way that empowers us rather than holds us back. Thank you for joining me today. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, leave a comment with your thoughts or questions. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more insights on living a wise and courageous life. Together, we can face our fears and live more fulfilling lives. By embracing these Stoic principles, focusing on what we can control, practicing negative visualization, living in the present moment, cultivating virtues, and using rational examination, we can face our fears with greater courage and calm. These teachings from ancient philosophy are just as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. They provide us with a roadmap to navigate our fears and lead a more fulfilling, less anxious life. Imagine how different your life could be if you applied these principles every day. Think about the fears that hold you back and how Stoicism can help you overcome them. Whether it's fear of failure, rejection, uncertainty, or any other fear, these principles offer practical tools to manage and reduce that fear. As we conclude, let's recap with a final story to reinforce these ideas. Picture a woman named Sarah who is afraid of pursuing her passion for writing. She worries about not being good enough, facing criticism, not being able to make a living from it. But she decides to apply Stoicism to her fear. Sarah starts by focusing on what she can control. She can't control whether people will like her writing or if it will become a bestseller. But she can control her dedication to writing every day, improving her skills and sharing her work. By concentrating on her actions, she feels more empowered. Next, she practices negative visualization. Sarah imagines her book not being well received, getting negative reviews, or not selling many copies. First, these thoughts are daunting, but then she accepts them. She realizes that even if these things happen, it won't be the end of the world. She can learn from the experience and continue writing. This acceptance helps her face her fear. Sarah embraces the present moment by enjoying the process of writing. Instead of worrying about future success or failure, she focuses on the joy of creating stories and expressing her ideas. By living in the moment, she finds more fulfillment, less anxiety. She reminds herself of her virtues. Sarah has the courage to follow her passion, the wisdom to seek feedback and improve, justice to be honest in her writing, and the temperance to stay balanced regardless of the outcome. These virtues guide her in her journey. Finally, Sarah uses rational examination to analyze her fears. She breaks down her worries and realizes that while writing is challenging, many successful authors faced rejection and criticism before achieving success. She understands that her fear is a natural part of the process and not a reason to give up. By examining her fear rationally, she reduces its power over her. Sarah continues to write and share her work. She still feels fear, but it no longer stops her. She knows that by applying Stoic principles, she can manage her fear and pursue her passion. As we end, remember that fear is a natural part of life, something we all experience. It doesn't have to control us. By applying Stoic principles, we can learn to live with our fear in a way that empowers us and helps us lead more fulfilling lives. Thank you for joining me today. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, leave a comment with your thoughts or questions, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. More insights on living a wise and courageous life. Together, we can face our fears and live more fulfilling lives. By embracing these Stoic principles, focusing on what we can control, practicing negative visualization, living in the present moment, cultivating virtues, and using rational examination, we can face our fears with greater courage and calm. These teachings from ancient philosophy are just as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. They provide us with a roadmap to navigate our fears and lead a more fulfilling, less anxious life. Imagine how different your life could be if you applied these principles every day. Think about the fears that hold you back, and how Stoicism can help you overcome them, whether it's fear of failure, rejection, uncertainty, or any other fear. These principles offer practical tools to manage and reduce that fear. So next time you feel fear creeping in, remember Marcus the Roman soldier, Maria the entrepreneur, John the traveler, Emma the student, David the father, and Sarah the writer. Think about how they used Stoic principles to manage their fears. You can do the same. You have the power to face your fears and live the life you want. Thank you for being here today. If you found value in this video, please like it, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to our channel for more insights on living a wise and courageous life. Let's continue this journey together, facing our fears, living more fulfilling lives. Stay strong, stay wise, and remember, you have the power to conquer your fears. See you in the next video.